تذكر يوما كنت تعانق دمعة الفكر تناجي الله في صبر وترجو رحمة تسري فعاش القلب إخلاص.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. This is our third live stream after Ramadan, and I hope that it passed very. I hope you enjoyed your Eid. And today, as you can see, the topic of the video, I'm going to. So, so today we are going to react to a video of pins and with Aquinas. And so before starting, I'm just going to go over through the topic that many people asked me to do, and I was so before we jumped on the topic, I just recalling that week I could not go, or I could not go to live stream, or I didn't do live stream because of some family matters. And but today, this is our live stream, and sorry guys for not uploading the shorts. So before starting, second, I think we should start. The topic is Muhammad liar. Wait a second. Lunatic or prophet. I think many people have debunked it, but someone asked me to do so. It's okay. Let's start.
Now, when it comes to Christianity, C.S. Lewis kind of revivified or a bad man, the Lord, liar, lunatic.
Just to mention, I have not seen this video or watched this video, so I'm just going to debunk it. I have not prepared it for today's video, so just mentioning. So
we could add land, right? I suppose we could also add possessed, kind of given our Christian worldview. Now, when I think of someone like Joseph Smith, right, who the founder of Mormonism, I can't agree with his claim to be a prophet. So I could perhaps say I could say he's a lunatic. I could say he's a legend. I could say he's possessed. I can't think of any other option. What would you say about Muhammad? Have you given that much thought?
I'd say that's actually how I break it down. When someone asks me, who was Muhammad? What was he? Was he possessed? Did these revelations have merely human origin? Was he insane? Was he a prophet? Those are normally the categories you normally look at. Mm-hmm. One, do these revelations have a purely human origin? Two, since we're Christians, we can talk about a darker source of the revelations. And then three, what evidence do you have that this is actually from God, that he's actually a prophet? And you see a lot of reasons in those first two categories to think that either his revelations have a human origin or a darker origin. So as far as, the human revelations, just, that appealing to people's carnal desires, that seems like a classic cult tactic. You have things like that. You have Muhammad constantly plagiarizing things that are now in the Quran that we can find in earlier sources. And I don't mean earlier.
Just mentioning the
reliable sources, I mean sources that we know were later fabrications, and Muhammad doesn't seem to be able to tell the difference between, a 5th or 6th century source.
Right.
Just mentioning that if B comes after A, sorry guys, if B comes after A, so it doesn't necessitate that B comes from A. And if A comes after B, so I just want to mention, did your Bible copy your Torah? This is the same same question. We can find them some stories of the Bible, which are mentioned in Bible, which you can find in the Torah or earlier scriptures. So, and if you are applying this same statement to the Quran, so it doesn't matter, because if he wants to copy, so the when everyone in the he was born in a rich family, rich tribe of Makkah. So so as for his tribe, no one knew about the story of Joseph, Jonah, and Moses. Everyone knew, and no one, even the emperor or Abu Talib, they didn't knew about these stories. And there were some scholars at the time present of at the time of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. They were present. They always kept a check on him so that he could not get these information. So again, coming to my point, that if B comes after A, it doesn't necessitate that B comes from A.
Right.
That clearly made things up that no historian on the planet would take seriously, and actually quoting the Torah or the Gospel, where according to Islam, those are revelations. Muhammad is talking about the Torah and the Gospel, but doesn't seem to be aware of the difference between, you know, a 5th century heretical or just fictitious forgery or something like that. Doesn't seem to be able to understand the difference between that and the actual Torah and Gospel. And so as far as human origin, yeah, just he's getting these sources from places where we know the source. We know this comes from the Arabic infancy gospel. We know where this comes from. We know where that comes from. Looks like he's just taking these things and incorporating them into his religion. A lot of the just weird teachings he has, like, you know, if a fly falls into your food, make sure you dunk the fly because one wing has a disease, but the other wing has the cure for the disease. He seems to be obsessive compulsive about how Muslims have to groom themselves. He put them.
So just to mention that it is also confirmed by science, and if you are saying that it is his logical fallacy, or that he made it up, so these are not the foolish thing. He made these all, the God revealed to him. So if you are saying that these are false things, or that like these things does not make sense, so it's your problem, not an Islam problem. So, and if I remember, Jesus also made some weird thing, or some weird things about people to do in the Bible, and or to he even told his disciple to do this. I can't remember, but I knew in maybe in Genesis chapter number 1, verse 2, and yes. So even the science proved it. So if even the science didn't prove that, so and Apostle Prophet also made the same claim, but it doesn't matter. It does not affect the prophethood.
Them on a schedule of how frequently they needed to, you know, take care of their armpit hair, pluck their pubic hair, and things like that. He just had them on this schedule. He would tell them how many stones they had to wipe themselves with after they go to the bathroom. He would tell them which foot to step into the bathroom first. He would tell them how they had to go to the bathroom. You have to squat to pee and things like that. So just it seems like obsessive compulsive. So it seems like a problem there. So you look at that kind of stuff and you say, this just looks like a guy who had some issues, and he's there in 7th century Arabia, and you take.
Just mentioning that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was never noticed or witnessed that to being such a pedo, or such having such kind of visions, or his revelation was not like visions or anything.
Take everything that's going on around him in 7th century Arabia. You had the pagans and their religious practices, which were things like taking a pilgrimage to the Kaaba, walking circles around the Kaaba, bowing down to the Kaaba. They had those practices. You've got some teachings of various heretical Christian groups, because I think it was Justinian, the Roman emperor, had expelled heretics, and a lot of them went to the Middle East. And so a lot of heretical people with weird books came to the Middle East. And then you have, of course, Jewish monotheism, and the claims of not only the Torah, but also the what became the teachings of the Talmud and so on. You find all of the
So if you are a big fan of Talmud, before coming to the Talmud, I am going to some probably show you some the revelation of Book of Revelation from Hadith, Sahih al-Bukhari, which states that it wasn't from anyone other than God. Let's have a look on that. So here, let me scroll down. Here, yeah. Um, a second. And if you are going to make a claim that sorry guys, so and if you are going to make that claim it was from Satan, so it is nothing than a illogical fallacy. So if it was from Satan himself, so we can find the verses in the Quran, like before the starting of the words it says "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim," which means that we I take refuge from the Lord of the heavens and earth, which in Allah, which we call, from the Satan. So, and he even in the verse in the Surah Yasin, chapter number uh, 5 of verse number 17, where it stated that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clear says that do not worship the Satan because it is the wrong part. So how can Satan he divert anyone to the worship of one God, and he would like this: do not worship many God, just worship one God, and which is the message of all previous prophets. And if you are mentioning that it is from Satan, that would rather Satan would tell people to worship him, not to condemn his worship. Like you can find in Satanism, where which is clearly from Satan, where it says that worship me. And if the Quran was from the Satan itself, so it would clearly tell that worship Satan, not worship the one true God, the creator of heavens and earth. So going back to the hadith of topic, wait a second. Here you can find the hadith of which are opened. I think it's 7 or 4, maybe. Let me see. No, there is no 7. Yep, here is the hadith. Yeah. So here said the commencement of the divine inspiration to Allah's messenger was in the form of good dreams, which came true just like every prophet. It came in a form of good dream. So here he so if it from it is rather from Satan it himself, so his reaction was not cover me, or he was not just like that. So if someone sees an angel for the first time, their reaction would be like, whoa, what have I have seen. So if you are quoting from the Bible, which says that Satan comes in the form of a good light or good spirit, so it doesn't matter, because Prophet Muhammad clearly saw Angel Gabriel, and he rose over the sky and says, "I am Gabriel, and Muhammad, you are the last messenger of God." So it wasn't kind of some delusion, and many people witnessed this moment of, and they saw when he was receiving the revelation. So that's why whole Arabia came under his control, and that's why
his disciples were with him for a few years. But the takeaway message, the gospel that they went out and preached, was a message about his his death, his resurrection, and his deity. That's the takeaway in the book of Acts and in their letters, guys. You got to get this down.
Just mentioning, when Prophet Muhammad peace be upon him claimed that Jesus was not crucified or nor was he divine, this clearly proves that he was a true prophet. Because if he was a false prophet, he would clearly agree with the Christians, so that they would come to rather accept his religion. And so yeah, just mentioning that if he was a false prophet, he would do that, but he go against the claim of Jews that Jesus was not divine, Jesus was a merely messenger. And if you go to the early teaching of many of the teaching of early companion or disciple of the Jesus, follower of the Jesus, were are not present with us with today, but some of the teaching of Ebionites, like they believe him as a mere messenger, a mere man, and not a god.
He's the divine Son of God who died on the cross for sins and rose from the dead. So that's the takeaway message according to the apostles. But we're also told false teachers, false prophets are going to arise. What are they going to do? They're obviously going to lead you away from that. And then you get down to the time of Muhammad, and you look at what Muhammad teaches. It's basically, hey, you Christians, you believe in God? You believe in one God? So do I. You believe that Jesus is the Messiah? So do I. You believe Jesus performed all kinds of miracles, including raising the dead? So do I. You believe Jesus is going to return? So do I. I agree with you on almost everything. Virgin birth, miracles. We agree on all of this stuff, except these three little things. He's not the divine Son of God. He didn't die on the cross, and he didn't rise from the dead. Now, if we can just get past those three little things, we're totally on the same page. So the Christian perspective would be, my goodness,
So, just mentioning that he was a true prophet, and if you think he is the divine, so we do not care. So as if you do not care with our Quran what it says. So, and it is the true reality that he wasn't crucified. He was the Gnostics and the early follower of Jesus. And in the Bible, I think there are the words which said that God, I will save you, and I will not let you harm. I will not. Which clearly proves that he was not resurrected. So if you have many proofs, you can find the refutation of all of this in my next live stream.
we've been waiting for you because you're like the ultimate perfect example of a false prophet. Agree with you on all kinds of things except the very heart of the gospel, and then try to lead people and keep people away from that heart of the gospel. So that doesn't seem just random, absorbing teachings. That actually seems like the classic biblical perspective on a false
the
prophet.
Antichrist,
yeah. And then in addition to that, you've got some spiritual issues. You might say that Muhammad, when he first starts receiving revelations in the cave, his first impression was that he was demon possessed. So
right.
He
becomes demon possessed. He tries to hurl himself off a cliff. Whatever he encountered actually stops him from.
Wait. I'm going to stop this video. So, this is the clearly a false logical fallacy, because if you are clearly saying that he saw a demon, which clearly does not resonate with our perspective of God. So if you are claiming that someone saw a demon, so he first he was very honest, and demon would not claim that he was a prophet. And secondly, that uh, just mentioning that there are, let me show you, there are multiple uh, uh, verses in the Quran which say do not, which goes against Satan, and which tells the people to not worship Satan, and just like the verse. And if the Quran was the really a revelation from other than God, or maybe Satan, so he was a demon possessed. So there are some many reasons to believe that, and so demon cannot, like Satan, cannot divert people to the worship of one God. He would always astray people to worship one God. He will take people to worship him rather than God.
From jumping off a
Yeah.
cliff. And Muhammad goes home to his wife, and he's freaking out. He's saying, cover me, basically hide me from this thing that's chasing me. And it's his wife and her cousin who convince him that he's not possessed. They weren't in the cave. They have no idea what he encountered, but they convince him that he's not he's not possessed. He's a prophet of the Almighty. And so that doesn't, I mean, there's something to say about first impressions.
Yeah.
Sometimes your first impression is the correct one. You've got people who didn't encounter whatever he encountered, and they're telling him that what he thought was demonic possession is actually an angel from God. So you have that. You have the infamous story of the satanic verses, where Muhammad was longing for some sort of revelation that would help his tribe convert to Islam, because they viewed him as a joke. And so he wanted some revelation that would convince them to convert to Islam. And finally, he got a revelation saying that Muslims could pray to three pagan goddesses, Alat, Alusa, and Manat. And so it's basically, it calls them the exalted cranes. So they're these birds. And the idea is that Allah, he's way up there. And so you can pray to these three pagan goddesses, and they're like birds that will carry your prayers up to Allah. So Muhammad delivered this as part of the Quran, this new revelation from the Quran, that you could now pray to the pagan goddesses of his tribe. And
no, he is actually getting wrong. So I let me open surah where he is quoting. So he is quoting the surah Kafirun, because it's when the revelation stopped. So the people said that the pagan said that you would worship his god, we will worship his god for 1 week something, and you will worship my god. So as I remember, and let me share the screen with you. Wait a second. Yes. Here it says, "Say, O Prophet, O you disbelievers, I do not worship what you worship," and and again it says, "Nor do I worship what you worship." So, what I worship, sorry. So it clearly said that Allah is not three person, and if and the next one he is going to quote that we. So it's a plural noun used for one person as a form of respect, like uh, let me show let me share the screen again. I think it's a
you're
waste
good,
of time.
because they're just going to carry your prayers to Allah. So Allah is still supreme. They're just these extra goddesses. And so he delivered this to his followers. His followers bowed down in honor of the new revelation, and the pagans bowed down in honor of the revelation too, because they were excited that Muhammad was now promoting their goddesses. Well, Muhammad comes back a little later, and he says that the devil tricked me into doing that. He says, I was receiving the revelation.
I think you are making this all argument by yourself. It doesn't. This all argument is not anywhere found in never in Hadith or in the Quran itself. So you are making it all it's by yourself. And if you are think that it is mentioned, so let me know by giving the number of Hadith or verse which you are quoting.
Gabriel, when Satan stepped in, gave me those verses and convinced me to recite those. Now, bare minimum there, Muhammad couldn't tell the difference between a revelation from God and a revelation from Satan. He couldn't tell the difference between being inspired by Gabriel and being inspired by Satan. And so that should be disturbing. But so that's
there is no satanic worship verses mentioned in Quran. And if you are so excited to see a soul, please, I do convince you to see it. Let me share my screen. I'm going to open and going to open any verse of the Quran, and I'm going to show that it is not from the Satan itself. If you are so convinced that it is actually from the Satan itself. Let me pursue Ikhlas. And so it started with sorry guys, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the most merciful, the most compassionate. So, and the full translation is that I seek refuge from the cursed Satan, from that Lord, from that God, from the God of the heaven and earth, which you call Allah. And wait a second. And if this whole narrative is from, I'm inshallah I'm going to make a whole video on this. And if this whole narrative was on was this a whole new religion was from Satan, the Prophet Muhammad peace be upon him would say that worship Satan, not God. And he there is some hadith which goes against the Satan, and they said do not worship the Satan. So how can you expect someone or something to receive such a revelation from Satan? It's not if you could take one step up, so it would be God. So it is not from Satan. It's your clearly a mind delusion, and it's clearly a logical fallacy. And is pointing to your claim that Prophet Allah prayed to the Prophet. So the word used for the word used for pray is yusalluna alami. We pray for for this mean Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't pray it like I made the video on aorta. Now we will make a video on this in the future, inshallah.
A magician got a hair from his hairbrush to spell on him. It's a of delusion that he and delusional thoughts and finally out it and says that he'd been under a magic spell, which if you're God's last and greatest prophet, just kind of
Yeah.
seems that people shouldn't be able.
So responding to this, that if I there are some hadiths which says talks about that, but they are weak. And if for the sake of argument I agrees with you, so the account here is the main purpose here that he was according to some hadiths which are not authentic, but for the sake of the argument, if I agrees with your argument, it says that he was um, that magician who like he was pro- like deceived, or which we can say that he was clearly he was he was forked up by magic, like and if he was a prophet, so you are saying that it would not affect him. So it didn't affect him. It the just sorry for the background. So um, just wait a second. So if Prophet Muhammad peace be upon him was a false prophet, so you are saying that it would not affect him. I would clearly agree with you, but it didn't affect him, because when the magician put the spell on him, it didn't affect him. It didn't affect for continuing his mission. And for the sake of the argument, if the whole Quraysh tribe and Meccan tribe, they go against the message of the Prophet peace be upon him, and they tortured him. And so if he was a false prophet, he would clearly just he would say that, oh, my message my like he lost his family, friends, and moreover his grandchildren, or like his wives during the boycott. So how can trustworthy and honest people would do would do all this for a false claim? And if you look at the message of him, it says that there is only one God worthy of worship, just like the previous messenger word. And this word your Jesus taught in the Genesis chapter number 1 verse number 3, that, "O hear Israel, your Lord thy God is one."
Able to take you out like that just by getting a hair from your hairbrush. Then you have how the way that Muhammad is receiving his revelations. It sounds like something out of X when he's being inspired on the floor. His face would turn red. He start pouring down sweat and stuff like this as he's receiving his revelations. So put all that together, it looks like you definitely have a lot to be concerned about as far as, is there a
There is no single hadith or verse, a Quran verse, which says that he got the revelation and his face turned red or he was on the floor. It just illogical fallacy. And if you are uh, quoting the verse in the Quran which or hadith narrated by Aisha which says that he was on his horse and he received the revelation. So the weight of the revelation was so hard that his horse that Hazrat Aisha feel that her hands or her horse would be like they are going to like it was so powerful, the revelation was so powerful, and if it was from demon itself, so it would not have any effect. And if you are saying that uh, and he and if it was and there is no revelation recorded which is from demon itself, and if it was really from demon, so the eyewitnesses many were the early scribes of Prophet peace be upon him, they would clearly left the Islam early.
Mention here, Muhammad is being used as a puppet by darker forces. So you consider the first option, the second option, the third option is, the argument for Islam. And again, the core argument, Muhammad's main argument is this argument from literary excellence. Now, I just wanted to read a quick short chapter of the Quran to show people what we mean here when we talk about the Quran challenging people to bring a single chapter, like one chapter that we read in the Quran. Read this
Please.
short chapter. So this is an entire chapter of the Quran. Some chapters are very long. You go towards the end, they're pretty short. So this is a short one at the end. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, say, O ye that reject faith, I worship not that which ye worship, nor will ye worship that which I worship, and I will not worship that which ye have been wont to worship, nor will ye worship that which I worship. To you be your way, and to me be mine. That's an entire chapter of the Quran. Now, a Muslim's going to say, but it only works in Arabic. Well, guess what? You can read that in Arabic too. That's what it sounds like, right? It doesn't sound that the idea that a human being is incapable of writing something like that. Again, this would be like fans of Eminem or something coming out and saying Eminem's raps are the inspired raps of God. And then, Jay-Z's fans say, no, Jay-Z's raps are better. And then Eminem's fans say, okay, well, let's put Jay up against Eminem and you'll see that Eminem's are better. Oh, by the way, us fans of Eminem, we're the judges of the contest. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That's exactly what Muhammad did, right? So that's how it's set up in Islam, that if you don't agree, the Muslims are the judges and they'll just say you're biased. And so it's a very, very strange argument. Doesn't seem like it comes from the same God who came with parting the Red Sea and raising the dead and things like that.
This video was not convincing enough, so it was just all about, mainly it was about Satan, that it comes from Satan. So I would have a whole argument on this, but if we have short time, so just mentioning that if it is from the Satan itself, the many have witnessed it, and they and it would not say people to worship one God or worship the true creator of heaven and earth, which can be found in the Surah Al-Ikhlas, Qul huwa Allahu ahad, say your Lord thy God is one, which is the message of Jesus itself. And Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was known to be an illiterate person, so he would not has such a knowledge of the scriptures. And if you are claiming that some priest or some the public priest, so he learned from the Bahira, its story does not resonate with him. It was a story made up by some false teachers with Mikan Madhabs, and it is not. We do not. We Muslims do not accept this story as it is not authentic. And if it was authentic, there so Prophet peace be upon him, when he claimed to the prophethood, he would say his father, his grandfather Abu Talib, that don't you remember what the Bahia said, that I'm a prophet, I became a prophet, so here I am a prophet. So he didn't say that. So this whole narrative is just made up. It is not an authentic, and it says that Bilal was and Abu Bakr was here present at that time. Bilal was not born at the time, and as for Abu Bakr, he was born, but he was too small, so he could not ride the horse, or he was not present here, as some authentic narration, so that there was only Prophet peace be upon him and Abu Talib, and there was no incident that happened just like Bahia. And if you are claiming that it is from Satan, it's your problem, not an Islam problem. So I think that's all for today, and hope you guys enjoyed it. So it was a long team, and maybe just going to the comment section here, it says I do dawah for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and do spread the message of Islam, which some people don't understand. And maybe I think that's all for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching all this stream. Allah Hafiz.
تذكر يوما كنت تعانق دمعة الفكر تناجي الله في صبر وترجو رحمة تسري